Slick and Shiny, tongue-in-cheek productions, are looking at Bolivar, Pennsylvania. Bolivar, Pennsylvania. A place that you may never have heard about. We're going to put this on autopilot here. And you'll be able to see some pictures as I talk about it a little bit. George Dallas Albert, in his history of Westmoreland County, talks about Bolivar as a place that was a village in the time of flatboat navigation on the Conemaugh. And a little bit later than that, when there was a canal going by, there was also a village there. And what I want to mention was the canal was being dug right around the time that Simon Bolivar died. Bolivar died in 1830. And the people digging it were aware of Bolivar, and they named the place after him. He was a great fighter for liberty, being free from a foreign oppressor. He was Spanish. He was actually South American. And a lot of people in South America followed him because he was getting the people to rise up and fight against the Spanish so that they wouldn't be oppressing him, just like the English had oppressed us here previously, before the Revolution. As I said, Bolivar died in 1830. And a couple years after that, the canal started flowing, which gave transportation to Bolivar and allowed them to ship one of their big products, which was fire brick, into Pittsburgh and other places. By 1832, there was a store, post office, forge, and 20 houses in Bolivar. And one of the early people there was James Glover, who recognized the importance of fire brick, not regular brick, but fire brick. He recognized that there was the kind of clay that you needed to make fire brick right beside the Conemaugh River that flowed right by Bolivar. And he started a company that made fire brick. And fire brick, or refractory brick, was the thing that made Bolivar important. It was one of the few places in the area where you could find it made. In fact, the only place at one point in south central Pennsylvania where refractory brick was made. It was also very important because of the coke ovens. The coke ovens needed fire brick, and a lot of the steel mills in Pittsburgh needed fire brick. And Bolivar had a corner on the market for quite a while. By the early 1880s, when George Dallas Albert was publishing his big book of history on Westmoreland County, the place had a grist and a sawmill. There were 5 retail stores. There was a Methodist Episcopal Church, 2 hotels, and 4 companies making fire brick. And Bolivar was by that time a borough. It had been made a borough in 1863. And at one time, in the early 1900s, Fred Rogers' grandfather, Mr. McFeely, bought one of the fire brick companies and started to make fire brick there himself. Fred McFeely had made regular brick at Latrobe and decided he needed to branch out into fire brick, and he did that at Bolivar. Now, I think it's time for us to switch over and take a look. That's Westmoreland County with Greensburg right in the middle. Way up here is Bolivar. We move on. Fairfield Township. Up here is Bolivar in Fairfield Township. This shows it on the old 1867 map. This is Tub Mill Creek running into Bolivar, the Conemaugh River running by and separating Westmoreland County from Indiana County right across the river. That's the town, Bolivar. Over here you have Tub Mill Creek coming down, being dammed up, and having a mill, actually a couple mills that are shown there. This is the mill on Tub Mill Creek. That's a photograph of the mill. I can show you mapping again. You see, in the front part, there was no less than 5 stories to that mill. Here was 4 stories, 3 stories. Fairly substantial enterprise. This was Tub Mill Creek coming down under the railroad bridge. This was one of the side routes of the railroad, not the major one. The major main line went by the Conemaugh. And I'll give you a better picture of this here. This was the railroad going by, the main line, Pennsylvania Railroad. Main line. And this is the Conemaugh out here. This is the freight station, passenger station out here. This is the railroad station up here, showing it in the context of Bolivar. The Conemaugh and the railroad going by, right beside the Conemaugh River. And this is the thing that gave Bolivar a place in the history of the county, we might say, in the area, making fire clay brick, making the kind of brick that was used in high heat situations like the steel mills and the coke ovens, and they had the clay there. It was one of the few places around that the fire clay was made, fire brick was made, refractory brick. I think that's enough right now for this one. I'm going to push my F11 button and say so long.